Okay, so we're now going to fit the zipper and our, well, basically we're going to construct our larger pouch, a larger purse. So I have one of my exterior panels and I'm going to mark on here. Now this is quite difficult to see because of the nature of the fabric, but along the top edge I'm going to make a mark that is 5/8 of an inch in from the side. Now I do this with black biro and it's a tiny little bit of a mark because I don't want it to show. And although it's visible to me, it may not be visible to you because of the iridescence of my fabric, but I promise you I've made, you probably can see it there actually, there's a little 5/8 of an inch mark there and much the same on the other side. It's a tiny little mark just so that I know it's there. So having, oops daisy, let's get rid of that. Having made my 5/8 of an inch mark, I just like to turn that round. And I'm going to lay my zipper right side down along the top edge where I've made those 5/8 of an inch mark, but I'm going to put my zipper tab so that it literally touches that 5/8 of an inch mark. So it's sitting right on, let's find some clips, right on that mark. And you can see my zipper is miles too long, so I'm just going to move the zipper tab in a bit, a zipper pull rather in a little bit. I'm just going to clip it in place. Now I'm not going to clip right up to that second 5/8 of an inch mark because I'm going to show you how we're going to get round that corner. Well, I would do if I could find an awl, which I appear to have put in a very safe place. So let me just see if I can, oh, there it is. Never find what you're looking for when you want it, can you? But there we go. Right, so I'm now going to stitch along, let me just turn that around so you can actually see. So I've attached my zipper and the tab is against the 5/8 of an inch mark. The other 5/8 of an inch mark is here, and I haven't clipped quite as far as that. So I'm just going to stitch down from the zipper tab to just before the 5/8 of an inch mark on the other end. And I'm not stitching from the very end, I'm just stitching across the zipper tab. And I'm using a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to stop and I'm going to raise my presser foot and move my zipper tab, zipper pull rather, out of the way. So I'm just going to head down. I've actually put my finger at the point where that 5/8 of an inch mark is, just so that I don't go any further than I need to. So just before that 5/8 of an inch mark, raise your presser foot, pop your stiletto or a pin in, just to be sure that you're at that 5/8 of an inch mark. Pop it into your zipper tape, raise your presser foot and pull your zipper out from your work at 90 degrees. Now you should be able to put your foot down and just stitch across where you've moved that zipper out at an angle. And just go one stitch past the end of your zipper. Past the end of your zipper T, should I say. You find there's like a little fold, which actually on that side is actually folded in quite naturally. It didn't need me to push it in with my stiletto. Sometimes it does. Now you can remove that excess zipper, and that's one side of your zipper in situ. Now you can take your lining. Oops, daisy, let me just move these bits out. I've got bits of faux leather everywhere here. So I'm going to use my lining that's got the card slots on it, and I'm going to lay my lining so that the card slots are facing where the zipper is. So you need to make sure that they're opening upwards towards the zipper. I'm going to place my lining across the top of my exterior panel, matching up the sides, and I'm going to clip it in place. Just get another clip out. Then I'm going to stitch across using a scant quarter of an inch seam allowance, but I'm going to start again at that 5/8 of an inch point. So I'm not starting right at the edge. I'm going to start at the 5/8 of an inch point that I started my first lot of stitching. And I've got a zipper pull underneath there that needs to be pulled out of the way. So don't try and barge past your zipper pull. Raise your presser foot. Can't get hold of it. Raise your presser foot and move your zipper pull out of the way. It will just make your stitching wonky, which you won't thank me for later. And then once you've got past where that needs to be, you can move your zipper foot back the other way. Make sure that the other half of your zipper isn't caught up in this stitching either. You don't want that to happen. It's just and again, you want to go, you can feel your foot just come off the other side of that zipper. So there you go, you can see we're not actually stitching right to the end, we're just stitching to the 5/8 of an inch point. Fold your lining so that it's behind your exterior. And you must make sure that the zipper is pulled out and that both the lining and the exterior are pushed right down. Golly, it's just gone very black outside. It's like somebody's turned the lights off. I think we're going to have an almighty thunderstorm in a minute. I may need to turn the light on. Oof. So you need to make sure that you fold your exterior as far down as it will go, and the same with the lining. You shouldn't have any puckers or gathers where the lining is. And then you're going to stitch top stitching along the edge of your zipper from the zipper tab to where the zipper teeth go into your work. So from this point here to this point here, not this last little bit. Make sure you've got long threads, top and bottom, so that you can tie off your threads. You can make your stitch length just a little bit longer here, just for top stitching, doesn't need to be too small. No back stitching required, because you're going to bury your threads. So, and here comes the rain. So there we go. So now I'm going to take my threads from the top of my work, and I'm hoping you can still see this. It literally has gone very, very dark outside, and it's now chucking it down with rain. So I'm going to take the threads from the top of my work through to the back of my work at both ends. going to tie them off. Just trim them off. You can bury them into your lining if you want to, but they won't be visible inside, so I don't usually bother. And I just trim them down to probably less than 1/4 of an inch because I've tied them so they're not going anywhere. Okay, so that's one side completed. And then we're going to take our second exterior panel, and again we're going to mark those 5/8 of an inch marks on the top edge. So you'll be able to see yours. You can't really see mine because this faux is almost a glow. And we're going to lay our zipper in exactly the same way between I've got my external piece right sides together with this external piece, and we're going to lay that zipper right sides together onto that 5/8 of an inch mark. Now if you've got it correct, then the sides of both panels should match exactly. And I'm going to clip all the way along. Now, at this point, when you look at the pictures in the pattern, you'll notice that I'm actually stitching from what would be the wrong side of my presser foot. For me, that works really well. For you, it may not. So what I would suggest you do, just to be, if you're worried about doing that and you don't think you can keep a scant 1/4 of an inch seam allowance using the opposite side of your foot, and it will depend on how wide your foot is, what you can do is you can pop your awl in at your 5/8 of an inch mark, and you can pull your zipper tape out at 90 degrees, exactly the same way as you did before, but without the machine being there. And you can clip that in place now, which means that you'll be able to stitch from this end as opposed to having to stitch from, I like to put my work up against the left hand side of my foot and stitch down. My foot is the same distance from the left to the right, so I know that I've got the right seam allowance. However, if you don't have that facility, this is the easiest way to do it. So go from the zipper end rather than from the tab end. You will probably have to, once you've taken your clip out, have to hold that with your awl just to make sure that it stays in place, that little fold that you've made. And again, you're stitching at a scant 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm actually stitching this the opposite way to the way it looks like, the way I've done it in the pattern, because it didn't occur to me when I was doing the pattern that some people's feet are not the same size both ways. So I'm showing you the way that you will be able to do it for sure. Just that little bit of back stitching. Let's get rid of the stray threads. I'm going to take that bit off now. You can wait till you've got your lining in situ before you take that off if you want to. So with my zipper still facing upwards, I'm going to take my second lining panel and I'm going to place it right sides down. And again, I'm just going to clip along the sides, and I'm going to stitch from the 5/8 mark again to the 5/8 mark. My zipper pull is right up at that end, so I'm just going to move it down, just so I don't hit it as soon as I start stitching. in, scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's my zipper pull, so I can open that up, lift my presser foot, make sure my zipper pull is the other side of my presser foot so that I don't end up with a wonky line of stitching, because my zipper pull kind of moves my foot out of the way. And there we are again. Oops, I've got a thread there. So from 5/8 to 5/8. Again, pull that lining so that it's behind your exterior panel. Now you can open up your zipper to do that. Just make sure that you pull it. If you clip, you can clip the bottom corners of your lining to the bottom corner of your exterior, and then you know that because they're the same size, that this is going to work. If that makes it easier for you. I just like to pull it down with my fingers, but you know that it's right if your lining is actually matched with the bottom of your exterior. Now, I don't press this at all, especially this, because it's an embossed faux leather. If I press it, then I'm going to have all sorts of problems. So I just literally finger press that seam to make sure it's okay, and then I'm just going to top stitch along the side of the zipper, and I'm top stitching at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance again. From the end of the zipper to the zipper tab. Again, long threads, beginning and end, so that I can bury them. May seem like a slightly silly thing to be doing on a project as small as this, to bury your threads, but the finished effect is just so much nicer if you do it. So, and I think it's a really good practice to get into. It is a technique that comes from quilting, and it's done for a reason. It secures your threads, but it also stops you having big lumps of back stitching showing, which on a quilt's even more important because it's all about the visual in a quilt. Golly, I've left those a bit short. Well, note to self, leave longer threads, don't leave inch-long threads because they're quite difficult to tie up. Okay, so I will come back to you very shortly and show you how we do our final bit of construction, because we now have our linings and we have our exterior. So we'll be back shortly to have a little look at how we do the final bit of construction.